Beautiful Anonymous is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. Hello to everybody who deserves the goddamn discount. It's Beautiful Anonymous. 1 hour, one phone call, no names, no holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun, and I'll get to know you, and you'll get to know me.
Hi, everybody. If you don't like a long intro, I get it. I'm not going to lie. I forgot to just record. I forgot to clock the time when I started this one. It's probably like, 7 minutes. Probably be close to the call if you get to like 7 minutes. I think that's where I would try. Sorry about that, everybody. I'll do better next week. Hi, everybody. My name's Chris Gethard, and welcome to Beautiful Anonymous, the show where we look at the human condition, one anonymous phone call at a time. I'm so psyched to be here. You're going to love today's call. I can't wait to talk about it in a second. Before we get there, just a little bit of housekeeping. After today's call, we have another conversation for the All Hands on Deck initiative I'm doing for Mental Health Awareness Month with my friends at Wellness Together. Remember, you can go to wellnesstogether.org/allhandsondeck. There's 5 interviews with me and different people doing very unique, innovative stuff in the mental health world. This is a site where if you go there, you can hear these interviews. They are not too different from Beautiful Anonymous. So if you love the show, you might love them. And there's also many links to different organizations that are doing great work in the mental health space. And it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So please go check it out. And again, after today's show, don't turn it off as soon as you're used to, because there will be a post roll where you'll get to hear a 5-minute version of one of those interviews. And they're lovely, and I worked hard on them, and I'm really proud of them. So thank you for that. Also want to let everybody know that I'm doing something ill-advised, but it's for a good cause. It's also for Mental Health Awareness Month on effectively May 25th. So 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on May 24th, I'm going to start doing a show at the UCB Theater in New York. It's a variety show. This show will end at 11:59 p.m. on May 25th. It will be a 24-hour-long show. I will be hosting many of those hours personally. If you're in New York, you can buy tickets for chunks of it, or you can buy a ticket for the whole thing. If you're not in New York, you can buy a streaming ticket where for $10, you can get all 24 hours of it. And throughout the show, if you donate to Laughing Together, the nonprofit that I founded, it's a fundraiser for my nonprofit. I'm going to be fully upfront about that. Part of why they hired me is for fundraising. You can control things that happen in the show. So all the comedians have been told, let's have aspects of your performances where if people donate certain amounts of money, they can cause you to do certain things or cause the show to go in certain directions. So it'll be very fun. And remember, even if you buy a live stream ticket for $10 and you don't watch a second of it, you're effectively donating $10 to an organization that tries to send comedy into schools to help kids communicate better, feel comfort in the spotlight, feel comfort letting their guards down around one another, help them learn to communicate their ideas boldly and clearly, all these things that comedy has researched proven effects in the sense of how it can help young people in particular. You're making a little donation towards that. So why not? Why not? Thanks in advance to everybody who checks it out. ucbcomedy.com. You can go to the May 25th section of their calendar on their New York shows. And New Yorkers, come on out. Let's pack the place out all 24 hours. Non-New Yorkers, buy those live stream tickets, watch, donate, control the show, make comedians do dumb things. It will be fun. And I have a goal of trying to raise $240,000. That's $10,000 an hour. Will it happen? Almost definitely not. Am I going to try to speak it into existence? Absolutely. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, ucbcomedy.com for those tickets. And of course, all the direct links are at punchup.live/Chris Gethard, as are all my show tickets. What else do I need to tell you guys about? I'm happy to say that in the last week, since the last episode aired, the final issue of the magazine was sent. The last one, it was a big stack of like 30 of them that went out on the last day. The last one went to Portugal. And if you missed out on the magazine and you want one, I'm very psyched to announce that you can go right now to chrisgethard.bigcartel.com. It's a very easy to make and hastily prepared web store that I made. You can get a record that I recently put out there. You can get a color copy of the magazine or a black and white copy. They are priced at price points where you will realize you should have just signed up at beautifulanonymous.com. These were made to try to entice people to check out the stuff we do behind the paywall at beautifulanonymous.com. I think we do great stuff back there. People tend to really enjoy it when they're fans of the show. I think it's smartly prepared. We give you what we promise. I'm proud of it. The zines are way too expensive for what they are. That being said, if you want one, there is a way for you to buy some of the extras that didn't get put in the mail yet. They're going to be expensive, and you got to pay the shipping. Shipping was crazy on these things, but that's on you. That's not on me at this point. But if you want one, you can get one, and I'll mail it out to you. Although I'm very happy to not be stuffing any more of them into envelopes. If people buy them, that would be lovely. I have a few boxes of them in my office that I'd love to get rid of. And maybe you're a completist. Maybe you're like, I got the color one, but you know what? I kind of want the black and white one too. You can go order a second one there. You can do that. Or if you're like, oh, I know some other people that don't know the fanzine, don't know the podcast at all, but they would love this fanzine. They'd think this was cool. You can go order 5 copies. What's the worst that happens? Anyway, that's chrisgethard.bigcartel.com, which exists almost solely to hustle these leftover magazines. So if you missed out on the magazine and you've been kicking yourself, that is how you can get one. And it was also a project that was way more expensive than I thought. So this will also help chip back at the stupid amount of costs that went into it. Thank you in advance, everybody who goes and checks that out. Final thing that I want to say is that this episode is great. This episode is right after my heart. I think a lot of people would agree. I think I'm pretty proud of what I do on this show. I think there's a lot of different types of calls that we get, but I think that for the people who have been listening for 9 years, a lot of them might agree. When I'm kind of having the peak curiosity is when I'm hearing about other people's jobs. For some reason, job conversations, maybe because I've had such a specific and unique career path and employment history, that hearing about other people's jobs, I go, what is that like? Because every single one is different and defines people in different ways. But they also help form your personality, either because of how you opt into the job or your reaction against the job not being your full personality. It's good. This caller is a 911 dispatcher. Now, not only do we get to hear about someone's super unique, at times intense job, a job that you never know how it's going to go. It's emotionally trying. There's all sorts of things to talk about it. Not only that, I drive an ambulance for the first aid squad in my town in New Jersey, volunteer and do it. I've been doing it for a few years now. I love it so much. And to be able to nerd out and talk about that connection between the dispatcher and the first responders out there in the world, getting them to the scenes, it was really fun. So not only am I hearing about someone's job, it's a job that I've always wanted to know more about. It's a job where I personally interact with people who do it. It's a job I've thought I would be good at, and I have looked up how to apply. It's really fun. I had fun participating in the conversation. I think you're going to be very fascinated as well. It flies by. I'll also say this. If this inspires even one person out there to go become a 911 dispatcher, or more likely, if you live in an area with a volunteer first aid squad, go volunteer. If it inspires even one person to get out there and volunteer in this space, man, it changes your whole perspective. It really has altered my life in so many ways. It connects you to people in a way that I don't think there's anything else exactly like it. Do it. I hope that it inspires some people to get out there and get involved. You'll be surprised how much you can help others, and you'll be surprised how much it gives to you. That being said, this caller's so cool. Huge personality. Not the personality you would expect from a 911 dispatcher. We talk about that and so much more. So many aspects of the job. And of course, beautifulanonymous.com, we get to hear from her even more. And that's where we get to talk about stuff that's not necessarily related to 911 dispatching. And that's so lovely too. Thank you all for supporting this show.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
Hello?
Is this Chris?
Yes, speaking.
No shit. No shit.
Yes, shit. Yes, shit.
Chris Gethard. Yes. Oh my God. So pumped.
How are you?
I'm great. This is my first Friday off since like March. I've been called in all of my on-call days, even though I signed up for them on Fridays. I don't know why I was surprised when I got called in, but I'm off. And I was going to go to the gym, but I'm not yet. How are you?
That was a good, thorough answer. I love that. I'm doing good. I'm very tired. I got about 4 hours of sleep last night, but I'm good. And sometimes when I'm a little tired and loopy, it actually leads to very good calls. So I'm excited to see how this goes.
Yeah.
I also might go to the gym later. I'm trying to commit to my health. My health is not good. Yeah. Just this morning, I went yesterday and I had to get blood work done because I have a physical next week. And then they do the thing where they send you the results before your doctor even sees them. So now I'm able to see that a bunch of things don't look great, but I have no doctor to explain them to me. So I'm in that nice little window.
Oh no. So. Blood work. I can't do syringes. It's like my one thing. Like I have tattoos and I have piercings, but like I actually just had to get a tetanus shot last week and I was the biggest baby. I swore so. No. Okay. So I was cleaning my bathroom, cleaning the base of the toilet, and you know the little screws, right? The little screws down there that have the little white caps on it. Well, its hat came off. The little cap came off its hat, and I thought it was just a scratch, and then I'm bleeding everywhere. And I just moved into this house. It's a rental house, and they didn't do such a good job of cleaning. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna get lockjaw. So I went and got my tetanus shot, and swore a lot in front of all these very nice old ladies, and I feel really bad. But and I was almost halfway off the chair, but I did it, and I got it, and which is good because if I got tetanus and lockjaw, I couldn't do my job, and that would really suck. So, but yeah, I did it. I'm pretty proud of myself. I'm very brave.
Well done. You nailed it.
Mm-hmm. Very brave.
What do you do that you haven't had Friday off since March?
I'm a 911 dispatcher. So I guess you and I, we kind of have a, yes way. Hell yeah. Yeah.
You don't have 911 dispatcher energy at all right now.
Yeah, I get that a lot, actually. I get that a lot. My family, when I first applied, they're like, you just don't seem like you seem too perky. And I'm like, well, you're going to get a perky dispatcher. That's how it goes.
So you don't have like an on the job voice. You remain this perky when people call 911.
Yeah. Well, unless they're assholes, then I do my customer service voice, and I'm very professional and very nice. But which, believe it or not, which I understand people whenever they call, and because we also answer non-emergency, but 911 callers, people can be assholes because they don't know how to act in an emergency. And I totally understand it. I totally get it. But no matter what, we have to have the same professionalism and customer service with every call. So, but if you're nice to me, yeah, you get perky dispatcher for sure.
Now, I'm going to tell you, this is not even a slight exaggeration, Andrea doesn't know this. I would say it was within the past month, I was researching what it takes in my county to become a 911 dispatcher.
Yeah.
I think I could actually, that for me, could be like a really great, if later in life adjustment career. I love talking to people on the phone. I've been professionally talking to people on the phone for almost 10 years now. I've started participating in the first responder world, and I find it incredibly gratifying. And I'm so fascinated by the concept of the dispatchers.
Yeah, you should do it. We always need people. I tell everyone that we're hiring all the time. It's the culture and everything is great, especially at my job. I love my job. I love what I do. It's just, sometimes people get bad calls, and so there's high turnover. So, I mean,
that is one of the, it's not for everybody, right? Like, this is a job. Yeah. I'm so fascinated. If you want to talk about other stuff at any point, let me know, because I could talk for 5 hours about 911 dispatching. This is a job that when you show up, you might, do you work for a county? A lot of them cover entire counties or portions of counties, from what I can tell, at least in Jersey.
Yes. So I'm in a county, and you're right. Every dispatcher, PSAP, I don't know what it stands for, but I know that's what it's called. They're all different. And my county is right next to two other. One is actually very big, very busy, and their county is separated out into, like different areas, like north, south, west, and center. And there's actually one county, I don't know why they did this. They have one town that has their own dispatch. I don't know why they can do whatever they want. I'm for a county.
It used to be town by town, and some towns have opted to grandfather that in. Just we'll handle our town.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have a good mix. I wouldn't say we don't have any like big cities. It's not like, I don't know, Los Angeles or anything. We have bigger towns, and then we have really small towns. We do have several volunteer facilities too for fire. So, and if what our regulation is that volunteer, if they get dispatched out, they have 5 minutes to respond for fire and medics. And if they don't, then we send a paid company. But that's different for everybody else. So if the volunteer is closest to the call, we try them first, and we can actually see using some software called I Am Responding, like if someone is even at the station. So it's pretty cool. I like it. Yeah.
Now, when I started, I love this because we have a little bit of common language, but I have so many questions for you. So when I started with my volunteer squad, we were still on I Am Responding. My county has since switched to Rover, which I really liked Rover. I thought Rover was very thorough and gave us more info on our end than I Am Responding did. And now they've switched us to Chief 360, which I don't think is as good as Rover. And when you see, because this is all county contracts, when you're a first responder and you see, oh, they're switching the software we use, so I have to download a new app. Oh, this app is not as good as the last one. It's really hard to reconcile mentally, because you go, there's people whose health and safety and well-being and sometimes lives, even in a small town like mine, are on the line. I don't like knowing that there's an app or software out there that had higher functionality and we're not using it anymore. It's a guilty feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like we use I Am Responding, and there's always change. We just started using EPD because we have I'm using acronyms because we were using software called EFD, EMD, EPD just came on. EMD is like a software for medics, like for medical questions, and EFD is for fire. And we just started something for police because police, we didn't use software. We would just drop a run for whatever we thought it was, and the dispatcher on police, they would change it however they needed to and put it out. But with medical and fire, we have that same software that you call me up and you say, I have chest pains. Well, there's a whole protocol for that I can go down and I can ask you very specific questions that determine what kind of response it is, or it can even change it. So if you call me up saying that you have, you're having some kind of eye problem, and then you start to, oh no, now my chest hurts, I can switch to a different protocol, or sometimes based how you answer, it'll go from one to stroke or one to something else, and it'll change the response. But now we have that for police, and it is hard to learn. It is hard to learn because I'll be in this protocol, and sometimes it dispatches really fast. They'll send the response send a response to dispatcher to send out really fast. And sometimes you have to go through the whole protocol, and it's like, I wish I can get this out now, but I'm still getting used to it, and it's a struggle because it's like, this person's waiting, but it's important for the responders to know and have all these answers. But change is good, right? Change is always good, right?
I applaud you. The dispatchers are also, there's been situations with my first aid squad where people have done have stepped up, and the town will say, we're going to honor them. And the police and firefighters and first aid squad members, whoever was on site, will go to the town council meeting, and they'll be asked to stand up and given a commendation. And the dispatchers are kind of the silent chess masters behind all of this, sending all the different pieces of the board, the info to get there. And you don't get invited to the town council meeting to stand up and get a commendation. Not as often as some of the people who are physically on the scene do, but none of it happens without this sort of shadowy voice on you're a voice to someone on a phone, and then you're a voice to a police officer on a radio, and then you're a voice to me as I scramble to the ambulance. And it's a voice that sometimes only says, the words received to me. But nothing happens without that sort of mysterious voice. And you're the mysterious voice.
It's me. And you know what else? We don't get discounts either, Chris, and I'm pissed off about that.
You don't get first responder discounts?
No. Well, except for AT&T, but no, I fucking don't. And I'm mad.
Oh, that has to change immediately. You can't get you don't get the discount Crocs?
No, I don't get discount shit. At least AT&T does. Okay, because they started 911. So but no. And I even ask all the time. They're like, no, sorry.
Oh, we have to
officer?
change
No,
that. We have to change that right away. That needs to go to whomever. Who's that? Congress? We need to write our Congress people and say that 911 dispatchers should have access to all first responder discounts, just like every other link in the chain of first response.
You know what's wild, though? There are some states that, now mine does, some states don't even require any training at all. They just sit you down and answer phones. It's wild to me. That's because we do CPR recertifications too. We do all the training. We even had before you get hired, you get a psych evaluation, you get a physical, you have drug screen, you have to take a critical test, you have an interview, and then you have to get trained and certified on all the EMD, EFD, EPD, CPR. It's a lot. It's a lot. And sometimes in some states are just just sit down and just answer phones. That's so crazy. So crazy.
I love it. Now, I have to ask some broad questions and then I'll get into the specifics that I know about I'm like a pawn on your chessboard. But first, I just want to ask on the broadest level, when you're covering a vast area, I imagine there's not slow days. There's days where I have my volunteer shift in my small town and we don't get any calls. And I would actually say more weeks than not, I work a 12-hour shift. I get 0 calls. I'm in a town of 3,000 people and you sit there, you go, that's great. Nobody got sick enough to call 911 in the 12 hours I was working. Good. Happy thing. But you will have some days that are slower than others. And then you will have some days where you might encounter one of the most tragic, disturbing, who knows what, psychologically challenging. You might have a situation where someone calls and you're the one who starts to realize right away, oh, they should have called 20 minutes ago when a problem started. And at this point, I'm the first one watching a window close where I realize this is not going to end well. And you're the one who's on the phone with them as that's dawning on you. There are so many ways in which you as the dispatch are truly the very, very front line in situations that are, no one's calling you just to see how you're doing. They are calling you because something has disrupted their day in a way that's completely crazy. And you never know how it's going to go. How do you handle that psychologically?
So one good thing about my specific dispatch center is we get free therapy. So that I love. But also, this is something personally for me. Everyone's different, but this is so weird. Listening to it is one thing. I can't see it. That would mess me up so much more. It's like I can't watch scary movies, but I love scary podcasts. Love them. So it's a good way for me to disassociate. And also for really traumatic calls, my dispatch center will, you're allowed to leave the floor for 10 minutes and just cool off, just do whatever you need to do. You got to do whatever you need to do to get back in that headspace. And that's the other thing is that, you take some crazy calls and you think nothing can be worse than that. And then there is, and then there's something worse. But the majority, I will say, since, like I said, my county's not huge. It doesn't have like a capital city in it or anything, but there are still several crazy things that happen. But yeah, I think as everybody, therapy is always great. But no, and you got to get back into that headspace of just, I can do this. And also, it's kind of a relief because once you get that crazy call, you're like, okay, that's the one for today. I did that, and the rest of them are just going to be a breeze. Hopefully, there have been several where it's just one after the other. But I think the other thing is trying to find whatever works for me specifically. My dog loves to take long walks, and that's always great because I'll be thinking about work as even before, after I clock out, as soon as I get home, I'm still thinking about work. And then as soon as I take him out, it takes about 20 minutes and then I feel more like myself again. Yeah, the free therapy helps a lot for sure. And like I said, listening to it is one thing. I could never do what you do. I couldn't, show up on scene and be all the carnage. I could not do that. Absolutely not. But, and I have one coworker who was talking about, since we use this software and it's kind of like a choose your own adventure, like if that, then this, it's kind of more of like a video game, trying to make sure you get to the end as fast as you can and as professionally and with the best decision that you can, seeing how great you can do also helps out.
I love that the answer comes down to, there is a provided level of care, and then I'm also very aware of the need for self-care, and those things are real. And I know my limitations. For you, it's the visual. If I had to see it, it would be a different ball game, but because of the skill set I have, if I'm not, dog, we had a dog on the show. People love it when they get to hear a dog.
That's my dog. What is it? What?
Also, to be fair, when you said you couldn't do what I do, first of all, I bet you could because you strike me as a badass. And I've been lucky so far. Hey. I've been doing it 3 years and I've never been in actual carnage. I will tell you. And I want to be clear about this and specific because I hope if other people are listening to this call that it drives some volunteerism. A lot of volunteer first aid squads, fire departments all over the country are closing because the culture of volunteerism in this country is dying. There's just less local civic pride. There's less of a standard of, hey, for a few years in my life, I will volunteer for something that helps. Get out there and do it. It's so gratifying. I've never seen carnage. I've been on 2 calls that have involved death, both elderly people. I bet you would vouch for me. A lot of first responding on an average day. And I think this is probably different in major metropolitan areas. But I think for a lot of the volunteer squads in small to medium-sized towns, most of it is just helping your elderly neighbors. That's the large majority of the calls you get. Falls, strokes, people with pre-existing conditions, people who are too old to drive and need transportation to the hospital, and their doctors have said, just get there, but they can't. Maybe it's at night and they can't drive at night anymore, or maybe, something is happening that's mild, but it's severe enough that they shouldn't be behind the wheel of a car, and you get them to the hospital. It's a way to help the elders of your community. On the best days, I'll say some things that you will understand. Once one call I had was someone woke up and they were an elderly couple, and he was in his 90s and he passed away overnight, and we were just waiting for the county medical examiners. And it was actually very nice to feel like I am this person's neighbor and I get to show up and be a support system right now. I was in another call where it was another man who was in his early 90s, and I will tell you that you'll understand this and you and I can discuss. And I bet this is as much a nightmare for you as it is for me. This is probably the gnarliest thing I've been in personally. We got the nightmare information as we rolled up, which was he has do not resuscitate paperwork. No one can find it.
Oh.
That's a bad scene for everybody, right?
They couldn't find it.
Let's pause right there. It is true. This is a really intense story from my ambulance driving days. You'll hear the rest of it when we get back. Thinning hair. That's something nobody wants to deal with. I deal with it. It's not great. It's not great for the confidence, okay? But doing something about it, that can be stressful. There's a lot of products out there. Can be really confusing on what's actually working. Well, guess what? Enter Hers Hair. Hers Hair treatments are made with doctor-trusted prescription ingredients that many other hair products, they just don't have. They come in a variety of options, including oral and topical solutions. You can find one that works for you. They even have options with added hair vitamins and supplements for extra support. Getting started is simple with a quick online hair quiz. You'll answer a few questions. You'll be connected with a provider. You'll discuss your personalized treatment plan. And through Hers, everything's 100% online. So no pharmacy trips, no doctor's office visits, no insurance required. Treatments start at just $35 a month. And the best part, you can get thicker, fuller, healthier hair and start seeing regrowth in as little as 3 to 6 months. I will say, again, I'm out here with thinning hair. And it's one of these things where, it's very common for men to think about this, and you don't realize women have thinning hair too. And a lot of people are thinking about it. And the idea that we're out here with doctor-trusted prescriptions, I think that it just makes it very clear these are things that have thought and care and research behind them. And I really like that. You can start your initial free online visit today at forhers.com/beautiful. That's FORHERS.com/beautiful for your personalized hair loss treatment options. Forhers.com/beautiful. Individual results may vary. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information. Headspace. I love Headspace. I have found Headspace to be sort of the perfect modern way to get somebody as frantic as me to slow down, focus up, get in touch with myself. You ever had a conversation where you meet somebody and they're like, "How you doing?" And you're like, "I'm good. How about you?" And then they're like, "Good." And everybody keeps walking and you realize you didn't even actually consider it before you said it. What if you actually meant it when you said, "I'm good"? This is where Headspace is aiming to get you to. Headspace is the app that helps me and 100 million people with their mental health and well-being with guided meditations, mindfulness practices, breathing and calming exercises, and so much more. I am reducing stress, boosting my mood, sleeping better. Headspace combines scientifically proven benefits of meditation and mindfulness with modern practices you learn from experienced meditation teachers. The app has customized, personalized approaches to help you navigate through all of life's moments, big and small. If you're a total newbie or you've been meditating for years, there's always something on Headspace that applies to what you're going through. Whenever you use it, it feels like it's made just for you. When I'm short on time, this is my favorite part. Headspace has these quick on-the-go programs. They'll get you in the right headspace just a few minutes. And with over 1,000 hours of mindfulness exercises, it's got the most complete meditation library I've ever seen. So you always can find something that works for you. I always find something that works for me. The on-the-go thing is such a game changer because I'm someone who believes in meditation. I'm also raising a 6-year-old son. I've also got a very busy life. I've also got multiple jobs. I'm always running around. And you often think of meditation as something, well, if you don't have the time to dedicate and do it fully for an hour or two at a time. No, Headspace has the on-the-go programs, which are just so, it's just so thoughtful to realize there's a lot of people out there who might need this the most because their lives are frantic, because their lives are packed out and fast-paced. These are the exact people who might need Headspace the most, and they've got the on-the-go programs for that. Kudos to Headspace. Feel good and mean it when you say it. For a limited time, get Headspace free for 60 days. Go to headspace.com/beautiful. That's HEADSPACE.com/beautiful to unlock all of Headspace free for 60 days. Headspace.com/beautiful. Thanks to all of our advertisers. Now let's get back to the phone call. That's a bad scene for everybody, right?
They couldn't find it.
Couldn't find the paperwork.
No.
They had a nurse there and a family member there. And so for anybody listening, you know, you can have your end of life care. And when you get to a certain age, your doctors, you know, the people who help you sort things out are going to figure out your will and if you should have just a will or a trust. And they're also going to help you figure out your do not resuscitate plan, your living will. And a lot of people get to a certain age where they say, hey, I've lived a very long life. I've already had some medical problems. I would like to die at home, so please don't perform CPR. But as the first responder, unless we see that paperwork, we cannot legally step away from CPR.
Yeah.
So when I tell you that the way it worked out, and you'll get this because you overhear situations like this on the phone, I bet, and through radio back and forth, was we got there and there was a cop in my town who he looked so exhausted and he had a sort of panicky look on his face. And as soon as we walked in, he's like, guys, I'm tired. I need someone to take over right now. And you know, you do your CPR training and you learn that communication is like, you don't hesitate. You don't look around, you go. So I wound up giving CPR to this man, but with the knowledge that should I do a good enough job to save him and he wakes up, it's going to be something he might potentially be very upset about. And people were literally dumping drawers, turning over any like dumping things on the floor to just find it, and then eventually found it. And it was like, found it. And I just disengaged. That was the most intense thing I've ever done. And I think that all falls within the standards of HIPAA law and my ability to speak on it.
Yeah, they have to have the paper. That makes me so sad because it's painful. Like if they survive CPR, it causes, you know, wounds. Like it hurts people. You know, they call that the vial of life. I think whatever the medical alarm companies, whenever they call me, they say the vial of life is on the fridge, but keep the DNR on the fridge too, please, please, because we do CPR over the phone too.
And there's people, yeah, you'll talk someone through it. I'm sure you have. And there's people who will like print their DNR on neon pink paper and hang it from the fridge. And then you hear these stories that people go and visit their elderly parents and go, Ma, why did you print this macabre thing and put it such a spite? No. It's a responsible choice. Put it on neon yellow paper, hang it right on the fridge, have it ready to go. If you really, really don't want CPR, make sure it's someplace where people can see it. I want to ask you about something specific that I think will fascinate people.
Okay.
So one phrase that people might know in the broad context, but not the specific context of what you do, is the phrase mutual aid. And
oh my God, yes.
we have to talk about it because it's the coolest thing you do. It's the thing that I will say every time I see it unfold. I go, the dispatchers are such badasses. And I always have this vision in my mind that that's when you get to, it almost is like, you remember the opening of Game of Thrones that scanned the whole map and showed where the different armies and the people were positioned anytime? So this is when something big enough is happening that it maxes out the resources of a town. So for example, my town, we have 2 ambulances. So if something, God forbid, happens that has more than 2, maybe 4 patients, if you want to put 2 on a rig, but as you know, that means something extreme is happening. You're the person who starts to go, what are the other nearby towns? What are their resources? Where can I get an ambulance from fast to this other situation that needs more? And at that point, also, what's my backup plan for those towns in case someone calls in a 911 situation and I've dispatched their ambulances to the next town over or 2 towns over? You know, this can happen with medical situations. I haven't been on one of these calls, but I saw a call in my county where it was a situation that was really scary where one of our ambulances got sent, and you saw that there were 7 or 8 different towns sending ambulances to one scene. Fires is where it really happens though. And there's a part of me that goes, you know, if there's a residential house fire, you'll see trucks show up, at least in my area, from 8 or 9 different towns, some of them very far away. And you realize the dispatcher got a random call, never saw this coming, and is mobilizing an entire county's resources to try to save somebody's house. Talk to me about that, because that's cool shit. That's where I really feel like the dispatchers are badasses, the mutual aid.
It's fun. So we also go outside of county, which is also kind of like a puzzle. So yeah, we have a CAD, computer aided dispatch, and I love it. Whenever the CAD goes down, which happened to me in the middle of a call, I was on fire. I was in the middle of a call, and I realized the CAD went down. So I had to look at this. You know, I had to figure out what kind of medical emergency it was, what kind of apparatuses needed to go based on what the emergency was. Then I had to verbally get on the radio and tell those apparatuses to go. And then I still had to continue my call and tell this person what to do while they were having their medical emergency. And thankfully the CAD popped back up within like a couple of minutes. But the ambulance and that squad, that rescue unit, they still had to, like, it was crazy because we were doing paper and pen and a handheld radio at this point. Like, and they still had to just like trust me to tell them, you know, this is where you go, this is where you enter, this is the address, this is your patient. And then once it popped back up, everyone else could see their runs and look at their computers, but they were still just like off the map. And I just had to know they're gone. Don't dispatch them anywhere. But yeah, mutual aid is a lot of fun, especially whenever we have so many volunteer towns here. Because I told you about how, you know, the volunteers, they get 5 minutes and then we send paid and we have to figure out who's closest. And, you know, there are actually 2 towns, one that just recently got paid, one that is paid, but still kind of acts like volunteer. We still give them 5 minutes. They're still getting used to it, but we're still getting used to it too. And then outside the county, because we get some instances where we'll use all the resources in like the 3 surrounding towns. We'll use everybody, and we have to call outside of the county to have, you know, ambulances or engines stage at the empty firehouses. You know, we'll call 2 counties that are surrounding us, be like, hey, we need to borrow 2 engines to go to these 2 stations. And there have been several accidents where, God, there's been like 6 or 7 medics to this horrific accident. And, we had to call and be like, because, the battalion that's on scene is like, I need another medic. I need another medic. So we're calling this county, using up all their medics. We had to call another one, use up all of their medics, and just stage, just take runs. Because even though that's a huge incident, there are other things going on that we still need to have units available. And the surrounding counties are amazing. There was even this huge house fire. We took 6 tankers from one county because, like you said, everyone's just trying to save this house because, firefighters, they want to save, of course, people and pets and animals. And, of course, they want to, lost stop. They want to make sure that they save your home. And, we took 6 tankers from one county, and that they have to call another county and be like, we need tankers. We need them staged because we just lost all of them. So I love mutual aid. And the other thing, too, is that this is where teamwork really comes in because, if I'm on fire and I have this huge event, I also have a backup fire sitting right next to me who will hopefully, when I have this one ops channel, they'll cover Maine. And for that huge house fire, now I wasn't on fire, but they only had not only an ops channel for the firefighters, they also had one specifically for water. So there are 2 ops channels going on for this one house, one that's just water, and the other one that's for the rest of the fire crew. And then my backup is covering countywide, but they also have to answer phones. We're all answering phones at the same time too. And God forbid it's a big enough incident in a public place that we just keep getting hammered with calls. And thankfully, the supervisors are the ones who will call the surrounding counties. Well, I'm on the radio, maybe even on the phone at the same time, too. It gets pretty wild in there. It gets pretty wild. We actually get really, really upset if anybody says quiet on the dispatch floor. You're not supposed to do that, so please don't do that. If you ever come to visit.
I can also say, too, and I bet this is standard with what you do, especially with fire calls, almost immediately the dispatcher starts telling everybody, switch over to this other radio channel. Here's the radio channel you're on because it's going to get, right? When you have a fire call, it is such an insane amount of chatter that you can't clog up the regular radio airwaves because it would render them unusable for all the other first responders who need that open channel but aren't on that particular call. I also know, too, because I live in a pretty rural area, and one of the reasons that my town has low taxes is that everybody has their own septic tanks and water supplies. But then that's also, this is true. Like, people, I think a lot of people, the first time I saw it, I went, that's how this works? It's like, oh, you're sending tankers from 6 different towns, but you also have to account for, so here's where the house is. But the closest water source is the pond in this local park 1/3 of a mile away. So you're actually going to be going to a local park and physically draining the pond and also accounting for the fact that you need to know how many tankers are trying to get in and out. And then you're trying to get up a narrow rural road that goes up a hill. And if there's any cars parked on that road, you're not going to be able to fit a tanker coming up and a tanker coming down at the same time. So you're relaying not just, hey, here's where the house is, here's who's on the way, here's your water source, here's the distance from it, who's going to be on command on the ground communicating with you to make sure that that flow of traffic between 6, 7, 8 different towns, some volunteer, some paid, all status that goes along with that. You might have EMS on scene and you need to park them, you might need one of them a mile out in case anyone needs to go to the hospital, which is not the case right now, but they need to be very close, but they can't be clogging up that traffic. You're also going to need another ambulance on hand just because those firefighters are going to need water, and firefighters a lot of times overheat and pass out and need immediate resuscitation, and you need EMS right there. So where do you put that ambulance that it's not going to clog the traffic on a rural road for all the fire trucks? And where do you put the other one that it can get in almost immediately, but right now stay the fuck out of the way? It's crazy how seamlessly you all pull that off. And I have to imagine it's terrifying, but there's got to be an adrenaline junkie part of wanting to do this job where you go, it's really fucked up to know someone's house is burning down and people might get hurt. You got to find out if there's people inside, if there's pets inside. And also, it's maybe the most fun part of the job, I would imagine. Are you allowed to say that?
Yes. I'll say it's fun as fuck. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Sally. I'm so sorry. Yes, it is fun, and it's awful to think that way. But yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun to just, have so many balls in the court, and just especially whenever, like I said, I've got a really good team. I really love my shift, and we're also, I'm also on day shift, so our calls are 300% more than night shift.
I hate driving night shift. I drive night shift, and I always have. And you can laugh at me. I'm about to turn 45 years old. In the world of volunteer first aid squads, also for all my middle-aged dad friends who might be listening, this is one of the only areas of my life where I get to be viewed as the young person at the age of 45. Okay, a lot of people in the volunteer first aid world are retirees. Why did I bring that up? What you just said something that brought that up. Oh, what did I miss? I'm screwing up because I'm getting too enthusiastic.
We're talking about day shift and night shift?
Oh, night shift sucks. You get no calls. You get almost no calls. The day shift people get all the calls, man. Day shift seems like I don't want to be around people who are distressed, but I also don't want to just have like a 12-hour shift with no calls 3 weeks in a row. I got to get out there and feel cool once in a while.
I will say night shift gets the most fucked up calls, though. But they don't get a lot, but they get real fucked up calls.
I've had a couple bangers, believe me.
I believe it. Yeah, because we get a lot for sure. Like my screen will be full. It'll be huge. And then, but night shift, they'll tell me, like, because we have, we'll relay, this is what happened. This is what happened. This is still ongoing. And there have been a few times when I've asked to come in early just because night shift had a really, really rough one, and they needed to go. We need to get them off the floor early. Because it was bad.
Can I ask you a couple inside baseball questions from your perspective?
Okay, sure.
I'm a volunteer. My squad just celebrated their 50-year anniversary. There's still a guy on the squad. Thanks. Yeah. There's a guy who's still on the squad who was a founding member when he was a teenager. It's cool. Makes me feel connected to the town. Makes me feel like I'm helping my neighbors. That being said, if I'm being honest, and I'm not trying to disparage anybody on my squad should they hear this someday, but volunteer squads, you're not sitting at the firehouse a lot of times. You're home. And if the pager goes off, you scramble and get to the firehouse. And like you said, you give 5 minutes. We are technically given 6 minutes. I've seen times where it takes us 12 or 15 minutes to get out the door, and it always makes my blood pressure rise watching the app. Are volunteer squads, from your perspective, do you prefer working with the pro squads? Are volunteer squads pains in the ass because of that shit? It must piss you off when you hit 9-10 minutes and you're like, yo, I'm sending out a re-alert. Tell me if you guys have your shit together.
Yeah, well, okay. So I don't have a preference, but I will say you get 5 minutes and then I start paid. And sometimes I'll hear over the radio, control, engine, whatever is responding. I'll be like, okay, now you are. I'll put you on it. But just, you're going with the paid people, nothing wrong with having more. Y'all go together and figure it out. Just have fun, say hello, make friends. But no, what I will say is the volunteers don't always talk to me. And I think that's what bothers me. I think I told you about how we have some that have just transitioned to paid, and they are still kind of in that mindset that, I'll dispatch a unit and then they'll have a different unit respond, but they won't tell me. And then I'll hit them up, be like, hey, is this unit respond? It's like, nah. Okay, well, this is a 2-unit run. Do you want me to start another medic from somewhere else? No, we're good. We're good. Like, that's not how it works. That's not how it goes. This is a chest pains call, or, this is cardiac arrest. We want to have a rescue and a medic, and it's like, nah, one's fine. It drives me a little crazy, but, I actually grew up in a volunteer town. So, 2 actually, because I've lived in this county most of my life. There were a few years when I lived outside of it, but yeah, and I lived in 2 towns that were both volunteers, and I was friends with them. People who worked in and out of the firehouses, and I get it. And they're great people. One of them was my babysitter. I remember her pager going off, and she yelled at her like a 18-year-old daughter because she had a little daycare. She's like, "You got him! I got to go." I get it. Even though she was like a couple minutes from the firehouse, that couple of minutes, she still has to put on her gear and then get on radio. Because some of them, they can't even mark themselves as responding. They have to have us do it, or they're not familiar with it. Or, like you said, getting on the ops channel, they're not used to having to, go to such a big thing and get on a specific channel, or mutual aid, going to an outside county and getting on that county's ops channel. I will say they just don't always know protocol, and that's okay. We're all in this together. We'll get on the same page. And if there happen to be 3 engines and 2 ambulances that show up at an incident for 1 person, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with my tax dollars going to it too. That's great.
Great answer. Now, I'm going to ask you something that I think anyone who is a part of the first aid world will laugh at. And again, we are all in it together. We are all a team. I've been a part of situations that unfold where it's a weekend scramble with an unassigned crew, and I'm driving and there's 2 EMTs, and I've only met one of these EMTs before in passing, and then we're meeting up with paramedics and I don't know them, and the teamwork unfolds and it's beautiful. That being said, for anybody listening who doesn't know, like, I'm a driver. This means I'm trained on CPR and driving, and most of what I'm responsible for is the actual getting people to places and making sure all the equipment is getting back on the ambulance, aka the rig, if you've heard us use that phrase. Equipment and transportation. The EMTs are trained in a lot more stuff than that. And then when situations are serious, chest pains, strokes, a number of other things, the paramedics come. Paramedics have the highest level of training as far as the people who actually hit the ground running that you send to places, at least in my experience, but I think that's true most places. Paramedics can do a lot more. They can administer medications on the spot. There are situations where if something really intense is unfolding, they show up in a sort of badass, tricked out SUV. Then they use our ambulance to administer care to the patient. And now I'm driving under the direction of the paramedics who supersede the EMTs. There's all sorts of levels to it. I have great, great respect for paramedics. Why are they so fucking grumpy all the time? Love to all the paramedics out there. If there's any paramedics listening, I know some of you are chuckling, but if you get pissed, you're only reiterating that paramedics often show up pissed. Anyway, we'll be right back. Quince is the best stuff. I don't know how much more blunt I need to be. Quince is great. You know when a new shirt just becomes your go-to? When you get a shirt and you're like, I'm going to wear this every time I need to look good and feel good. That's me with Quince. That every item I've ever bought from Quince skyrockets to the top of my go-to list. The things in my closet that I'm grabbing first, they're always from Quince. Quince puts out stuff that's lightweight, that's comfortable, that's always on point, and things that you actually want to wear. Organic cotton silk polos, European linen beach shorts, comfortable pants that work for everything from backyard hangs to nice dinners. Quince is ready to get your back this summer. The best part, everything with Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than what you'd find at similar brands, because by working with top artisans, cutting out the middlemen, Quince gives you luxury pieces without all the crazy markups. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. I so legit love Quince. I also now have said, I've done Quince ads where people will come up to me and go, oh, that's a Quince sweater. And it's beautiful anonymous fans who have heard me say I look good and feel more confident with these Quince sweaters. People have come up and been like, that's got to be a Quince. I'm like, yeah, because it looks great, right? They're like, yeah, you were not messing around, man. I really genuinely love Quince so much. Can't decide if I like my charcoal sweater or my gray sweater more. Both of them put me in a good headspace. Both of them make me feel really confident. I'll also say both of them look as good as there's other places where I've gone and tried to buy some of these confidence clothes. You're spending like 3-4 times as much for quality stuff that honestly falls apart. There's one place where I used to buy sweaters and they were more expensive than Quince. And then the seams would come apart. And I'd sit here and be like, this is a waste of time and money. Never have I felt that with Quince. Elevate your closet with Quince. Go to quince.com/beautiful for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/beautiful. Get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/beautiful. Thanks to all of our advertisers. Now let's finish off the phone call. Why are they so fucking grumpy all the time? If you're in this world, you know what I'm talking about. Endless respect to them. And the ones who aren't grumpy, I always am so thrilled to see them in action. But some of them show up pissed.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Because I'm thinking of the ones, because I just hear them over the radio. I'll be like, well, okay, I'm so sorry. Oh, geez. Yeah. You know, I know what you're talking about. And especially whenever it comes to volunteer and paid, because a volunteer will respond, but then the paramedic will have to take over if they need, like you said, medication or something like that. And I'm just thinking of all the times on the radio. Now, I did do a ride along when I first got hired, and they were wonderful. The driver and the paramedic, they were wonderful. They were great with the patients. Yeah, I just know over the radio. And sometimes they'll call in and they'll be completely different. They'll be a completely different person to me over the phone. And I'll be like, do you not recognize this voice? I was just talking to you on the radio. I don't know. Why. Probably because they've seen some shit. I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm not saying
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Paramedics are grumpy. I am saying that when paramedics are grumpy, they are grumpy. And sometimes we have earned it. I've been in a situation where the paramedics showed up and were like, someone was under duress and they were in a physical location in their house that was a real tight squeeze. And the paramedics showed up and yelled at us a bunch. And I was like, whoa. And then afterwards took the time to come to us and say, hey, based on what was going on, one of the number one things you guys could have done was get that patient safely out of that tight space into a space with more room where we could have worked on them as soon as we got there instead of having to coordinate their movement. And we went, cool. That's a reason to be mad at us. There's other times where the paramedics are grumpy and I go, we're all just trying to help people here.
Yeah. I have a question for you, if that's okay.
I loved it. I also know, I hope I'm not dominating this one too much because I love talking about this shit and I love what you do.
I love it too. And I got to say, the people in my life, like my friends and family, they're over it. They don't care. They don't want to hear about calls. They don't want to hear about anything. They're just they don't want to hear about my shit. So I'm loving it. So my question is, you're talking about CPR. Have you used the Lucas device?
I have not been in a situation where I've had to use the Lucas, but I am trained on the Lucas, and the Lucas saves lives. It also scares the shit out of me. That thing is...
Yeah, it's wild.
That thing's crazy.
It freaked me out. When I first saw it in action, I was like, that is nuts. I mean, it does the work. You know what I mean? It's just...
The Lucas is basically, you can look it up, anybody, but it's basically this device that you can strap around a patient's chest and it delivers perfect CPR is kind of the shorthand that gets tossed around. Whereas a human might get tired and not be pushing to that, 2 to 3 inches in depth, whichever one it is they say, or might not get the exact rhythm right. This is a machine that does all those things automatically. But when you learn how it works and when you start practicing with it, and the first time you see it turned on, you go, that looks like a thing that would beat a person to death.
It's freaky. It's nightmarish, honestly. But it's to save someone's life. It's wild.
Yeah, it is. You know, I believe in CPR, but you sit there and you go, you start to hear like, oh, the actual percentage of successful CPR is very low. And then if you have the AED machine, a lot of people know it as a defibrillator. Okay, now lives actually start to get saved on a more regular basis. And then the Lucas is multiple levels up from that. Oh, I want to ask you another thing, because I'm thinking so much from the first aid perspective, including fire, because we are associated with the local fire department. But you also have to deal with all the police action in your county too.
Yes.
Which I'm sure I have a few questions about that. The first is, there's sort of legendarily, I think, a lot of internet memes. And I've read that in some cases they're true, in some cases they're not, that there's almost certain, you know, the famous one being, if you're in a domestic abuse situation and you call 911 and order a pizza, that dispatchers will pick up on the fact that you can't speak freely in front of someone. And I've read that this is a thing that has happened a couple times, and it spreads around the internet, and there's very popular TikToks that are recordings of 911 calls. But then I've also read backlash that says, hey, this is not a thing dispatchers are trained. And if you call up and you're coy or vague, there's actually not training that like ordering a pizza is a secret code for I need help. But I'm wondering if you know anything about that, because that is a very popular internet meme.
Well, you know, that's actually something I get asked about a lot. It's pretty obvious when you're having a conversation with someone that they're trying to hint at you that something's going on, you know, and I've never had someone try to do that with me, but I have had someone who had to speak carefully because the person was looking right at her and in the same building. And, you know, we can easily drop a run for anything, even because we've also had calls, even butt dials, that we think someone's in distress, even if it's just like a construction crew that's yelling at each other in a fight. We don't know that. We can drop a run. We can send medics and police. It's a good thing to trust your gut. And we always send. That's actually our policy at our dispatch, is always send. Because like I said, we also answer the non-emergency calls, no matter what you call about. Okay, you call me about, you're mad that the puddle in front of your house hasn't dried up yet. I'll send an officer. You have the splinter, I'll send you a medic. And if you are so coy and I can't understand what's wrong, but I know something's wrong or something's up, you called me for a reason and you don't want to get off the phone. Or even if you have to, because I have had that too. Someone just screaming, or just saying, get them here. We don't know what they need. So we send the whole county. We'll send everything. I don't want anyone to ever not want to call. That's my biggest thing. And like I said, even with the asshole callers, no matter what, they're going to get the same service. They're going to get the same response, because that's what people deserve. They deserve help when they want help. But the thing with the pizza, it's kind of gotten around. I mean, I did a little event just for teaching kids last summer about, you know, how to call 911 and how to do it correctly. And they caught on to the pizza thing, you know? So I would say maybe if you just call me up, and I've had an open line with just silence, and I still sent a response, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I just wasn't like, well, this is dumb. It's just an open line call. They just have their phone on. Like, no, always send. And if any fellow dispatchers are listening, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, well, even you, just on a phone call, you can tell when something's off or someone's not following. Like, well, what do you need? I don't know. Okay, well, you called me. I don't know. Like, it's when you need to trust your gut.
There is an art to what you do that goes beyond the words, that goes beyond the tone, and goes down to intuition.
Yeah. But I think that's everybody. I don't want it to seem like I'm some, I don't know. I feel like this is a job that anyone can do if you just have, an understanding of empathy and human interaction. But I will take the compliment.
I think you should. Now there's a companion question to this, which is almost an extension of your answer, which is, we're also living in an era where I'm sure there's a lot of training on this too. I don't want to go too political. I'll also say this as a guy who has pretty well-established, publicly avowed liberal values, progressivism. I'm someone who absolutely thinks that, we've lived in recent history through times where you look at it and you go, oh, there are communities that are absolutely within their rights to feel like the police have targeted them, that police have abused their power, that people have died, that it's systemic and not changing. Those are all things I believe. I will say, being a first responder has also taught me, though, the phrase all cops are bastards, I sit here, I go, all blank are never always blank. Like, there are absolutely good police in this world. I've met them. I've seen them save lives. I've worked next to them. So I want to say that. But I also know you must be in a position sometimes where you get calls in the other direction where you go, my gut instinct is, I sort of want to tell this person this isn't a big deal. And that it could be, am I the person that's going to send police into a situation that becomes a bigger deal than it has to? And I'm sensing the potential for that. And what is the training there? Whereas someone might butt dial and, hey, they're going to get a visit from a cop just to make sure. There might be other situations where someone's going, this person's doing X, Y, and Z. And you're the person going, I hope this doesn't escalate as I'm the one sending people in to deal with it. Do you get training on that? Do you think about that?
So what I will say is, when it comes to responses, we trust the responders, we trust the police officers and the firefighters on, because we do have a set amount when it comes to dispatch, for like a generic, like if someone needs to have their VIN checked on their car to make sure it wasn't stolen, they just bought it, one officer. If it's domestic, always two. After that, we give them the facts. This is what was said. This is what they said happened. And, based on protocol, 2 officers need to go. It's up to their discretion after that. If they say, oh, officer, whatever, you can disregard, I'll go check. Or if they get on scene and they say, control, I need another unit, rush. I think, we always let the officers know, especially safety, with police questions, asking about weapons is usually the very first thing. And, if what I will say is, stop calling me and telling me that you're going to take matters into your own hands.
People say that to you? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they also say things that they think will make officers respond quicker. Like, they'll hear, shots fired. I know they'll say things, they'll lie to me because they think it'll get an officer there faster. And the other thing too, like you said, with some calls, some officers will back on, if it's an accident, even though our protocols only send 2, what if 2 more calls or 2 more cars got involved in that accident and several officers like, hey, back me on that, or with a domestic, if it happens to be, escalating in their weapons and more people, more officers will back themselves onto it. We have a protocol for how we're supposed to dispatch based on what kind of type of call it is. And I let the officer know this person said this and this person said that. I can't advise what's on scene though. And I also tell the callers this, because they'll ask me, well, what do I do? Especially in a matter of an accident. They're like, should I move my car? Should I get back into my car? Should I not do this? And the one thing they always tell us is to tell the caller, do whatever you think is safe, because I'm not there and I can't advise them on what to do. There's one thing they told us in training. It was like a train that had tipped over somewhere and toxic gas was spilling into this neighborhood. And there were 3 different calls. One dispatcher, when they asked, what should I do? They said to stay inside. That person passed away. Another one said that, you should go to your car. And that person passed away. The third person, the dispatcher said, do whatever you think is safe. That person left out their back door, jumped the fence, and they survived because they trusted their own instincts. I think that's the hardest thing is I'm not there. And all I can do is just tell the officer, they're screaming at each other. And this person said they're going to take the matters into their own hands. Like I can only do whatever my protocol tells me to do. Officers take a lot of things, and firefighters, they take a lot of things into their own discretion. And another thing is that sometimes we don't even know what happens. That's another thing with dispatches. There's not a lot of closure, especially with fire runs. Police, sometimes they'll have a report. Sometimes they'll put comments in there, but with fire, we usually never know. We know if they get transported, but especially with cardiac arrest, sometimes they'll transport and they'll be like, we got ROSC, which is a pulse, or they don't, and we don't know if they make it. So I think that's the other problem is that, I'm not there, and we have callers who try to escalate things, or like you said, they don't make as big of a deal as they should. I've had several non-emergency calls that should have been 911. Mm-hmm. And then the officer gets there and like, I need 2 more units. This has turned into a whole thing.
Right.
But I do worry.
Someone's like, I don't want to be a bother. And then a cop gets there and goes, oh, the ambulance should already be on the way. The paramedics should know about this. And then on the other hand, that's so scary to hear. Someone might go, hey, there's somebody on my property. And there is. But then they tell you, I think they might have a gun or a knife.
Yeah.
Thinking someone will get there faster. And then you've sent in cops who go, this person might have a gun. And then if that person reaches for a cell phone and a cop thinks it's a gun, it's like this person might have just thought that would get someone there faster. And now you've become a piece of a puzzle where something horrible might happen. I'm sure that's part of what the free therapy helps you sort out is those moments.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just the frustration, because we get a lot of 911 calls like, well, this isn't an emergency, but, I lost my wallet. Get a lot of those too.
That's the level of what do they call it? Hero syndrome, thinking you're the hero of the story. The fact that people might call you up and say, I can't find my keys. You're like, how narcissistic are you that this qualifies as an emergency that should take up 10 seconds of anyone else's time or resources? Go find
every day.
Every day you get bullshit like that?
Every fucking day. It's, well, this isn't an emergency, but, this car's been parked on the street for 20 minutes and they don't live around here. And the racist, Chris, oh my God.
Get a lot of racist calls?
Oh my God.
We're going to extend this. You only have 30 seconds left, but I have to hear about this.
I'm sorry.
You just get people actually calling up and you start to feel their biases and their racism and their...
Yes. They say racial slurs. I'm on a recorded line and I let them know. I'll be like, you're on a recorded line. Like, I don't care. And they say the most racist shit, or they'll call in a suspicious person who's just walking down the street. And I'll even have officers, over the radio be like, control, what's suspicious about this person? And I'll be like, they're just walking down the street. I don't know. And they'll be like, just close it. Like they know. That's the other good thing is at least is officers can also close the call. Even though we have to send for liability reasons, the officers can just like close it. That's stupid. But yeah, the racist, Chris, it's insane. Oh my God.
That's really heartbreaking. and scary and sad. Now,
Yeah.
we're going to go over time a little bit just because this one is near and dear to my heart. I hope I've made it clear through my enthusiasm and trying to ask all these questions that have always fascinated me that not only do I think what you're doing is vital and commendable and it is fascinating outside of that, but it's also fairly hidden. Like even hearing you say you don't get the closure, I go, right, because you don't get the closure. You don't get the first responder discounts.
No.
Everyone out there, listen up. The 911 dispatchers are the silent, hidden, unseen tip of the spear, keeping the rest of us safer, keeping the rest of us alive, helping to protect our homes from burning down. The 911 dispatchers do not get the pats on the back. They do not get the closure, the satisfaction. They don't get the town medallion honoree. They only take us through the first third, maybe half of the process, and then have to sit and wonder forever how it's turning out. So everyone needs to respect the 911 dispatcher more. I'll also say too, if you live in a town with volunteer services, whether that's fire or EMS, please think about volunteering. I guarantee they need you. There's not a volunteer squad on earth right now that doesn't need more people. I promise you, they need drivers, they need EMTs. At the very least, they need your financial donations. It's not a joke. Being that we're both links, pieces in this puzzle, I feel warranted saying it. And then I do want to ask one final question for the free feed before we move on to the behind the paywall 5 questions. You mentioned early that so many people burn out. You mentioned that there's some areas where they don't even give thorough training to their dispatchers. And I have to imagine it's because part of the strategy on that has to be, well, people quit so soon that you can't spend a bunch of money training them. You train them on the job when you realize they're actually going to stick with it, or else you're just wasting time and money. You have stuck with it. You clearly have a love for it and enthusiasm for it. And you even mentioned that you are the Perky 911 dispatcher, that if it feels appropriate, that you don't change your vibe. How have you avoided the burnout? How have you maintained this sense of positivity? Whereas so many other people who enter this profession, it fucks with them. Let's be honest. With their emotions, I bet there's people whose sleep gets thrown off because they sit and think about stuff. That lack of closure must completely mess with people. The being on the phone with someone who's hoping that you help their loved one stay alive, and then you listen to them realize in the moment that that's not how this is going to turn out, and you are listening a few steps away. How do you not burn out? How do you maintain your positivity?
Well, I do love my job, but it's the fulfillment that I really, really love. I really feel like I'm doing something. I've worked a ton of jobs. I worked so many jobs. And this one I applied to on a whim. Actually, I was just like, yeah, I think I could do that. If they had anything part-time, I'd go for it, but they were only hiring full-time. And the more I thought about it, the more I interviewed, the more I went through the process, I realized I want to do this. I think also my team, we're all there for each other. We're all so ready to help one another with anything that we need. Even if one person just has to leave for the longer than 10 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours, someone has to leave halfway through the day. It happens. And I just really do feel like this is what I was supposed to do. This is what's right for me. It took a long time to find where I fit, and this feels right. And even with all the terrible, it's not bad calls that get me, it's the stupid ones. It's the assholes that get me. I can't. The hard calls, even afterwards, like, okay, I made it, they made it, or that was really hard, but I just need a minute. It's the stupid ones that I get up and throw my hands up like, that fucking asshole. Like, it happens every day where one person just throws their hands up like, worst person, worst caller of the day. Cause they're just, anyways. But yeah, it feels like I'm where I'm supposed to be. I feel like that I'm finally making a difference. And you're right about the volunteers. I guarantee you, as soon as somebody like gets on or starts volunteering, they'll feel the same way. They'll be like, this feels good. This feels like something I'm doing right for my fellow person. But, and you know, sometimes I do get burnout. I will say our shift also helps. We're rotating 12-hour shifts. So, you know, even though we're short staffed and I'm working a lot of overtime, it's nice to know that if I need more time, I can take it. And my coworkers are there to help out too. But yeah.
I have loved this conversation so much. We're going to go behind the paywall. If you are new to the show, what we do is if you sign up at beautifulanonymous.com, we ask the caller 5 random questions. I'm going to love that on this one because we talked so exclusively about one thing for an hour plus that now we get to know you on different levels. But I do just want to close by saying there's been at least 2 that I can think of, maybe even 3 or 4 times in the years that I've been driving the ambulance that members of my squad have been honored. And you go to town hall and the town council's there. They honor the people who were present at a situation where someone, you know, was saved. And I just want to say, you should be there and you should get the discounts. I know it's silly to go, you should get the 10% off at the places that give 10% off to first responders. I don't even have my county ID. I don't get that, but it's always meaningful to see the stores that offer it. I haven't filled out the paperwork for the ID, but I do just want to say on a basic level, just understand that at least from one driver out there, I feel in safe hands communicating with you, letting you know when I'm leaving the station, when I've gotten to the scene, knowing that you know where I'm at and you're going to tell me where to go. You're a part of that. You should get all those things. I think it's really sinful that you don't. I was yelling before about how Congress should fix it. That's not a joke. They should. There should be an effort made to remember that you're a big part of it. Thank you for everything you do.
Well, thank you.
Caller, thank you sincerely so much for doing what you do, for talking with me about it, for sharing this thing that I'm passionate about, and for giving this look at this very cool corner of the world that you occupy, that people don't think about until they need it, and they don't realize how cool it is. It was so fun to talk to you. Thank you to our producer, the High Priestess, Andrea Quinn. Thank you to Shell Shag for our theme music. If you want to know more about me, including tickets for my upcoming shows, punchup.live/Chris Gethard. That includes the 24-hour-long show that's a fundraiser for Laughing Together that's coming up. Our voicemail line is 973-306-4676. We're on Instagram at Beautiful Anonymous Pod. The Facebook group is fantastic. Great place to discuss episodes with people. It's called Beautiful Anonymous, the community. Tell your friends about us, everybody. Thanks. This week on Beautiful Anonymous Plus, here's some of what you'll get from the 5 questions. What irrational fears do you have?
I am terrified of blenders.
Blenders? That is an irrational fear.
It doesn't make sense. Okay, it's blades going the speed of a car, and you put ice in it. Ice sunk the Titanic. Ice is very hard, and somehow I'm supposed to believe that little glass can keep everything in there. No, the blades are going to come out and get in my eye. No, blender.
So no smoothies in your life unless prepared by professionals in a setting where you can be far away from the blender. So if a blender goes off in a public environment, you get up and you move as far as possible away from it.
I see where it's at first. Okay. You know, I gotta get eyes on it because I'm surprised that there's a blender here and I need to know where is it. And then I move away from it if it's in close proximity. Because I would go to this event assuming no blenders, then I hear a blender. Okay, I'm upset.
I love this. I mean, I'm so sorry you're that scared of blenders, but I am completely fascinated by it. Don't forget to sign up for Beautiful Anonymous Plus at beautifulanonymous.com. I'm Chris Gethard, one of the people behind Laughing Together, an organization that sends comedians into schools to run mental health-related workshops, because these days, mental health is an all-hands-on-deck conversation, and people from many walks of life are finding ways to contribute. For example, in-person gaming has become huge in recent years, and research shows it has many positive benefits in terms of mental health. Today, I talk with Ali Beardsley, a cast member of Dimension 20, an online show where the cast plays Dungeons & Dragons that's gotten so popular, they recently performed at Madison Square Garden. Here's the thing. Ali wasn't into gaming before joining this show, so they have a unique perspective on how it connects you with others, allows you to explore ideas in a free and honest way, and the exact muscles gaming strengthens.
It's kind of like I happened to be on the football field when the Super Bowl was happening, and they were like, "Do you want to join?"
What was your perception of role-playing games before you got sucked into the Super Bowl? And what are the things you've learned about it along the way?
When it comes to like the limits that I kind of put on myself when I thought about what Dungeons and Dragons was, I think I kind of had so many misconceptions and so many things that I was kind of like, that's not me. And then trying it out, I was like, oh yeah, it's actually for everybody. The rise of D&D is very much tied to COVID and isolation. Meeting up to play a game together is really fun, and D&D can be this kind of like 2-hour, 3-hour session once a week. It makes my life feel more full.
I'm so thankful for any activity that forces me to put my phone on airplane mode and actually make eye contact with someone else and listen to what they're saying. When you're thinking of new characters, how much of it is this seems like it's fun and could lead for other stuff for people to bounce off of? How much of it is I never get to do X, so I'm going to do a character that fills in that blank and does that for a while?
For me specifically, I was like, oh, I'm going to write a character who's like a trans guy and play it. And then a couple years later, also transitioned like very similarly. And I'm like, that wasn't not connected. Like that was for sure something in my mind that I was like, oh, I'd love the chance to play this type of person and kind of walk around in these shoes. So it's a really fun kind of like space for freedom in that way.
This idea that you can find a community of shared interest and build a world where you're participating in it with other people who share those interests, I think is really vital. And especially, as you pointed out, COVID shined a light on isolation. And I think what's been shocking for so many people is when we were able to take the masks off and go back to stores, a lot of us had to admit COVID highlighted the isolation, but it did not create it. It is something that's being built more and more into our experience as humans. And to come out of COVID and go, I feel just as lonely as I did when I was locked in my house, even though I'm not locked in my house anymore. I'm so happy to see shared group in-person activities that detach us from the virtual life taking such prominence.
Yeah, it's just like a really fun community-based, like creative writing exercise that you can do with your friends, which is, I think, awesome. I think I have a lot of friends who, if I was like, would you want to come over for a creative writing session where we all read what we wrote out loud at the end? 90% of my friends would be like, I don't think so.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Is everything
Sounds a little
okay?
raw. No, thank you. But yeah, this is essentially that. It's like, oh yeah, I want to know what's going on in your mind. Like I want us each to kind of like show off a little bit or like encourage each other a little bit. And it's a fun thing in that way.
I love that. If you just asked people to do all the things it accomplishes, they'd either be uncomfortable or worry about you and where you're at.
Yeah.
But if it involves rolling dice once in a while and you get to shoot a magic missile every once in a while, at that point, yeah, totally in. Let's get creative in front of each other, let our guard down, be vulnerable, collaborate on some art, and offer up some revelations about ourselves as humans in subtle ways.
Totally.
Thanks so much, Ali. Support Dimension 20 on Dropout, and if you want to hear this conversation in its entirety, plus more from people approaching mental health conversations in unique and innovative ways, visit wellnesstogether.org/allhandsondeck.